I ain't stop him, man. I ain't gonna hold you, man.
Canelo Alvarez got one of the best chins.
Yeah, but hey, listen, he ain't been hit by Terence though. Terence can punch, man. You know what I mean? I know he's been in with some of the great punches and all that, but them punches gotta be placed right. You know what I mean? And Terence placed some punches, man.
I can totally see Crawford outboxing Canelo, like bad, making him look like taking him straight to school. But again, I do not see Crawford stopping.
The tension between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez continues to escalate as Crawford repeatedly claims that Canelo is no match for him. Their most recent verbal exchange has only intensified the situation. Crawford has already begun executing a calculated plan aimed at weakening Canelo's support among Mexican fans. Known for his strategic mindset inside the ring, the Nebraska native is applying that same methodical approach outside it. By publicly questioning Canelo's image as the undisputed face of Mexican boxing, Crawford is making a bold move, one that mirrors Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s well-documented psychological tactics, though with his own personal twist.
Over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not cold.
In both a real and symbolic sense, Canelo has always been wrapped in the Mexican flag. His pride in his heritage is a major part of his identity, providing fans a connection to his birthplace, something that has helped him rise to global superstardom. He wears that pride openly, pushing back against anyone who questions his status. As a Mexican boxing icon, but Terence Crawford seems to have found a crack in what was long considered an unshakable bond. For years, critics have debated Canelo's place among the all-time greats, arguing that while he's undeniably talented, his career has been meticulously shaped with business and image in mind. That's where Crawford's approach becomes especially compelling. He's not just criticizing Canelo's boxing style and resume, he's targeting the very foundation of his popularity, his relationship with the Mexican people. In a move reminiscent of Floyd Mayweather's psychological tactics against Oscar de la Hoya, Crawford has launched merchandise featuring his image against a backdrop of the Mexican flag, stamped with the phrase, "Viva Mexico." It's not just bold branding, it's a direct challenge to Canelo's role as the standard bearer of Mexican boxing. It's also a calculated effort to create division within the Mexican fan base, appealing to those who see Canelo more as a businessman than a warrior. Despite his enormous following, Canelo has always had detractors who criticize his selective matchmaking and his avoidance of certain opponents. These fans idolize legends like Julio Cesar Chavez, Salvador Sanchez, Ruben Olivares, and Juan Manuel Marquez, fighters who chased legacy over money and embodied Mexico's grit in the ring. To them, Canelo's success, while undeniable, lacks the raw spirit and authenticity of the icons who came before him.
I'm going with Terence Crawford, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. It ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years, I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can be.
Crawford's new t-shirts are a direct appeal to this audience, positioning him as the fighter, willing to face any challenge, no matter the financial risk. This marks a pivotal stage in the pre-fight narrative, where psychological lines are drawn long before the first bell sounds. Known for his relentless pressure and ability to break opponents down both physically and mentally, Terence Crawford is bringing that same intensity to the promotional battle. It's a bold strategy, one that risks alienating the very fans he's trying to win over, yet it also casts him as the determined underdog, a fighter with something to prove. Throughout his career, Crawford has thrived in this role, consistently, rising to the occasion when doubted.
I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments, just off of pure hate. So what would they be able to say with me going up 2 weight classes? If Canelo become undisputed again and I beat Canelo, what could they say? They'll say something, but
Despite all the drama, the financial reality of this matchup looms large. According to multiple sources, Canelo Alvarez is expected to earn up to $150 million from this fight, far exceeding anything Terence Crawford has made in the past. This massive financial incentive underscores the significance of the bout for both fighters. However, it also introduces a new angle to the narrative. Critics argue that Canelo's recent performances suggest he's more focused on maximizing his earnings than cementing his legacy as the undisputed pound-for-pound best.
All right, well, Canelo 5'7", you know, my arm's longer.
Yeah.
He's strong, I'm strong.
Right.
You know, it be, to me, skill for skill.
Right.
You know, because Canelo not the biggest 168 fighter. So, I just thought.
Even veteran promoter Bob Arum, known for his blunt honesty, recently admitted he wouldn't be willing to pay for this fight due to what he sees as Canelo's lack of passion. If they're going to fight, I think it's great. It's pretty interesting. But again, if I had to pay to see that fight, I wouldn't, because Canelo has proven in his last few fights that he is simply a businessman, Arum stated.
Crawford Canelo, there's a lot of talk about that.
I think Canelo wipes the floor with him. I love Crawford. I told you when Crawford and Spence that Crawford would beat the hell out of him, but Canelo is a different proposition. It's an interesting fight, but I think there's only one winner.
What fight would make the most?
He wipes the floor with him?
What?
Is it because of the weight difference?
Because Canelo, Canelo.
He's no longer in the ring to thrill the crowd. He simply collects the massive paycheck. However, if Canelo were to fight with the same hunger that Terence is known for, it could turn into a truly exciting and meaningful bout. This sentiment echoes what many fans feel, that Canelo, once a fiery combination puncher with something to prove, has transformed into a calculated figure focused on maximizing his fame. Crawford, by contrast, has shaped his image as a no-nonsense warrior who enters every fight with bad intentions, treating each bout like it defines his entire legacy.
This fight, Crawford is very talented, great footwork, great combinations, and a very strong fighter. You know, he, facing him off, he's actually the taller man. So I'm leaning towards Crawford now. I switched my opinion. I think Canelo looked too slow, too flat-footed. One punch at a time. I don't think that's going to be enough for him to beat Crawford. Crawford's too fast, too strong.
However, this matchup presents a significant physical challenge that cannot be ignored. Weight has become a recurring topic, with many questioning whether Crawford, who has spent most of his career at lightweight and welterweight, can withstand the power and durability of a natural super middleweight like Canelo. This isn't just about adding muscle, it represents a fundamental shift in Crawford's entire approach to the fight. Other fighters have paid the price for making this leap. Jermell Charlo, for instance, was thoroughly outclassed when he moved up 2 weight divisions to face Canelo, serving as a stark reminder of the dangers tied to such a jump.
Should be gone. The notion that Terence Bud Crawford should move up 3 weight classes, 21 pounds, to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's entirely too small. Jermell Charlo already.
Amir Khan, a fighter who has faced both Crawford and Canelo, offered a sobering perspective on Crawford's challenge. When you start adding weight and moving up to fight someone like Canelo, you're going to have to spar with heavier fighters to prepare for that, Khan explained. So you'll be putting a lot of wear and tear on yourself. He questioned whether Crawford truly needs to take on such pressure, noting that while gaining a few pounds is necessary, the physical toll it takes could be significant.
Canelo just doesn't outbox him, but I think just outpowers him and beats him to the punch. And you do give, Canelo does have some sort of decent speed as well. So I think Canelo just wins that fight easy.
Would it be a knockout?
Could be, but I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
This is where Crawford faces his greatest physical challenge. While he has already demonstrated an ability to adapt to different styles and overcome physical obstacles, facing Canelo, a seasoned, powerful puncher, is an entirely different matter. However, it's possible that Crawford is drawn to this bout precisely because of the challenge it presents. It's a high-risk, high-reward opportunity, one that could either solidify his place as one of the greatest fighters of his generation or expose the limitations of his physical frame. The Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford matchup has already sparked predictions from many of boxing's biggest names, ranging from confident forecasts of a Canelo knockout to cautious optimism about Crawford's chances. Julio Cesar Chavez, a living legend in Mexican boxing, was very straightforward about the upcoming match. Known for his brutal honesty and deep understanding of the sport, Chavez has clearly dismissed Crawford's chances. He believes the fight is one-sided, with Canelo's power and size creating an overwhelming challenge for the smaller Crawford. Chavez stated in a recent interview that while Crawford is an excellent fighter, Canelo is on a different level. He added that Crawford is motivated by the money, but Canelo will knock him out. This strong, almost dismissive view reflects the concerns of many old-school fighters about drastic weight jumps, especially when the moving fighter lacks the physical build to endure the punishment from naturally heavier opponents.
Pelea muy dispareja, la verdad. Crawford es un gran peleador, pero no tiene nada que hacer en ese peso. Con todo respeto, él va por el dinero y Canelo lo va a noquear.
The two fighters are going to be different weight classes, even though they're going to fight on a specific weight. He believes that they're just going because of the money, Crawford, but probably Canelo is going to...
This opinion holds significant merit. Despite his controversial reputation, Canelo has established himself as a formidable force in the super middleweight division. He has defeated some of the sport's hardest hitters and absorbed punches that would have likely ended the careers of smaller fighters. The Mexican star's chin is legendary, his body work relentless, and his skill in closing distance and cutting off the ring is unparalleled. Chavez's prediction is grounded in the belief that, despite Crawford's technical skill, he lacks the physical attributes needed to withstand a genuine 168-pound powerhouse.
A lot of people that say that Crawford can beat Canelo, no problem. I mean, I respect that, but I just think they're stupid. I mean, excuse my language. The size difference of a bigger man changes everything with one punch. And I can see the same thing. I mean, you saw Canelo Alvarez fighting Amir Khan. Now, look at this. Terence Crawford.
Oscar De La Hoya, another former fighter-turned-promoter who knows Canelo well, also favors Alvarez in this fight. De La Hoya, who brought Canelo into his Golden Boy marketing stable in 2010 and helped him rise to superstardom, shares similar concerns about the size difference. Despite their strained relationship, De La Hoya still admires Canelo's raw physicality, viewing him as a naturally stronger boxer. In a now-deleted interview with Fight Hype, De La Hoya stated that while Crawford may have the advantage in pure boxing skill, Canelo's size and strength will ultimately be overwhelming.
You know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Crawford is a legend, bro.
Yeah.
You know, and like
considering the skill. Differences among the fighters, it is clear that Crawford is the more skilled boxer, and De La Hoya agrees with this. However, Canelo has the size and power advantage, and as Bob Arum predicted, he will overpower Crawford. It will be a tough fight, but stylistically, De La Hoya believes it will be one-sided for about 7 rounds before Canelo begins to press the attack. As the fight goes into the later rounds, Canelo's power will ultimately prove overwhelming.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game. Unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, this is the truth again. It's a money grab. That's it. Yeah.
Eddie Hearn, a promoter known for his straightforward opinions, took a more nuanced stance but ultimately agreed with Canelo's advantage. Hearn emphasized the physical realities of the fight, pointing out that while Crawford is extremely talented, he is not a natural 168-pounder. He referenced Crawford's bout against Israel Adesanya, a smaller and less physically imposing fighter. Then Canelo, noting that Crawford did not appear dominant even at 150 pounds. Hearn said, "Physically, I don't believe he's a big 150 or light middleweight fighter. He's neither a big 160 nor a true super middleweight." He also mentioned that Canelo's ability to absorb punishment and deliver fight-changing power shots will likely prove too much for Crawford.
Is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
Yeah, I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35. 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. But you have to use your movement.
Eddie Hearn, a promoter known for his candid views, took a more nuanced approach but ultimately sided with Canelo. He highlighted the physical realities of the fight, noting that although Crawford is highly skilled, he is not a natural 168-pounder. Hearn referred to Crawford's bout against Israil Madrimov, a smaller and less physically imposing opponent than Canelo, observing that Crawford didn't look dominant even at 150 pounds. Hearn said, "Physically, I don't see him as a big 150 or light middleweight. He's neither a big 160 nor a true super middleweight." He also pointed out that Canelo's resilience and ability to land fight-changing power shots will likely be too much for Crawford.
Canelo's a stronger guy, the bigger guy, but in the fight with a guy that moves around, and if Crawford uses his skills and his legs and his technique and just his ability, I think he can win. He can win the fight in decision, as long as he doesn't get hit with those big.
Andrade, who has faced opponents the same size as Canelo, expressed admiration for Crawford's skills but remained doubtful about his chances against the Mexican superstar. "Canelo is a big, tough fighter who can keep moving all night," Andrade told Fight Hub TV. "I believe Crawford has the skills, but when it comes to landing shots on Saul and avoiding his powerful punches, Canelo's movement and speed give him a clear advantage. He's not robotic. He's quick and smart. It's definitely going to be a tough fight."